We are now approaching the final keynote address of the conference. To close us out, we have one last distinguished speaker who will leave us with valuable insights and a vision for future. Please join me in welcoming our final keynote speaker, Dr. Shilpa Anchawale, Head of Technology, Label and Packaging at Fujifilm Sericol India Private Limited, with the topic, The Evolving Role of Printing Inks in Safe and Sustainable Food Packaging. I now request ma'am to please kindly come forward on the stage. Let's all greet her with a warm round of applause. Yes. I now request Bhagyashri to introduce Dr. Shilpa Anchawale.
Thank you, Ashley. Now I would like to introduce our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Shilpa Anchawale. Dr. Anchawale brings over 24 years of extensive experience across business development, R&D, printing and graphic engineering, and academia. With a strong blend of 11 years in industry and 13 years in academia, she has consistently driven innovation and contributed to sustainable solutions, particularly in the packaging sector. She holds the distinction of being the first PhD holder in printing material science from the Savitribai Phule Pune University, and currently she serves the Senior Business Development Manager at Fujifilm Sericol India Private Limited, where she leads strategic initiative in sustainable ink solution for packaging. We are privileged to have her with us today as our keynote speaker, and I am sure her insight will be highly valuable for us. Thank you.
It's not audible, no? Yeah, am I audible? So first, is it really okay? No, it's not audible. Little louder. Ma'am, hello. ते on केलं आहे का? On असेल? on केलेलं आहे.
येतं ना आवाज
आवाज
येतोय.
नाही येत. हॅलो हॅलो. या मी सबको बुलाओ. आवाज नाही. हॅलो. It's on only.
हे होणार ना. ये आवाज नहीं कर रहा.
Hello, hello. Yes, okay, fine. No, it's okay. It's okay. Fine, no problem. So, good afternoon. And first of all, thank you, Vikram, where he is, for his valuable inputs, because we know for the fitness, we need extra motivation. That is just a really obvious things. And without that, it's very difficult in day-to-day life to get that fitness, right? So coming to the again our basic topics about the food packaging. So I think that fitness topic has refreshed you. So now come to again our food packaging elements. Being it's the last session, I know some overlaps maybe we'll observe in my presentation. So no, not an issue. Where is that slide? So we know this is food packaging. When you start your day and till the end of your day, you are daily dealing with all this packing. So what are these required in your, first we'll start with the Colgate paste that is packed. Then your tea, sugar, spices required for making your lunch, breakfast, everything. So the whole day we are using the food packing, this we know. And this is the mandatory thing, we have to accept that. And without food packing, we cannot survive. This is also we know. So today, my friends, we are not here to tell you why the packaging is important. But I'm going to highlight you few. Yes, so I'm going to highlight you how we are making this package safety. Safety point of view, we are going to discuss how the elements are contributing for making your product safe. Now these are, so as per our understanding, now we have seen from morning also we are seeing the various presentations that is related to material. Okay, so material is there, then other parameters are there. But if you see, package is not only one single material. So just take an example of one juice laminates or one chip pack, and another example is about the blister pack. Okay, So there are so many elements beyond your substrate. Your just consider one example. Take an example of the blister packing. How this blister is formed. So there is one basic layer of polyethylene material. On this polyethylene material, so this is the base, and there is one more layer, that is the aluminum foil. Okay. So to just get seal that aluminum foil with your polyethylene substrate, we need some heat seal lacquer. Okay. So between your polymer surface, between polyethylene, and on top of that polyethylene, we have to apply heat seal lacquer. Then your aluminum foil will come, that will get sealed with your base layer. Again, on top of this aluminum foil, obviously it is not printable condition, so we need to apply some primer on that. So the primer layer is an additional layer is there, and then on top of this primer, we are doing this printing. That is nothing but our inks. Okay. And again on top of that ink, sometimes heat seal varnish we are applying, because you are going to form the blister. So during the blister form, their ink should not get affected, and that's why these many layers, so many elements getting contributed for while making a blister. Okay. This is another example for your juice and chip pack. It's a similar. It's a laminate structure. In between laminates also, we are using various layers: polythene substrate, aluminum foil, met pet laminates, then your polyester substrate for the printing. And again, in between each layer, there is adhesive layer is also there. Sometimes primer is there, sometimes overprint varnish is there, and ink is there. So each and every element is going to contribute in your packing for making your product safe. So that's why we cannot just consider about the substrate, but each and every element we have to consider when we talk about the safety of our product. Now we have seen, so these many elements, so definitely your packaging industry is a vast industry now. It's a food industry, but so many elements contributing in your food packaging industry. So what? So your paper manufacturer is there, your polymer industry is involved in that, chemical industry, pigment coloring industry, plastic manufacturer, adhesive manufacturer, printing machine, machine operating machines, and retailers, additive manufacturers. So many entire industry is contributing to make your product safe. That means how it is important. It's not only about the one substrate paper manufacturing industry, not only about the film industry, film manufacturing industry, but entire industry when work together, then only your product you can make a safe product. And that is a very mandatory thing. Otherwise, even though if we select the raw material, suppose this raw material as per our standard, as per our compliant part, but how from where this raw material is coming, in what condition this raw material manufactured, so all these parameters will affect, and that's why we have to consider this entire supply chain while considering a safe product, safe packing, food packaging. Okay. So now why food packaging safety matters now? So we know day-to-day life also, there are so many packages are getting introduced for each product, ready-to-eat products. Then because of our fast life also, we are prefer normally ready pack materials. So this is major contributing. Again, entire long supply chain is involved in that. Then increase the shelf life of the product. Why increase the shelf life of product? Because if your product life is shelf life is increased, definitely your material is going to come in contact with your product more time. So these many parameters and consumer awareness. Along with that, that is also important, because now consumer also aware. This is the pack, where it is packed, when it is going to, shelf life is going to finish. So all these parameters are considering, and that's how food packaging becomes a safety concern majorly now. Now I will highlight you few examples. So these are the really, we can say, these documents are available on the site also. You can refer that. These are the highlighted cases. How this really packaging inks, now I am considering not only the ink, our adhesives, all primers, overprint varnishes, and ink. This is one category. And how these categories is affecting the product. So there is really example happened. So one first example, that is Nestle milk packaging. So this is about when baby food packing. So few traces of ITX product observed. So what is that ITX? So this is ITX is one kind of monomer which is normally used in UV packaging, UV inks particularly. So these are the low molecular weight. Yes, I need that. Just a minute, sorry. So in this Nestle food products, baby food products, this ITEX ingredients observe. Now what is this ITEX ingredients? That is nothing but UV initiator, and that initiator migrates through that food, through that packing, and it observed into this, get traced into this food. Another example in USA, that is near about Kellogg's packaging odor. So this is not related to exact about the ingredient stresses, but this is about some change in the odor, some change in the flavor of that product that is also observed, and all the materials recalled in 2010 in UK. Another incidence, this is not incidence, but this is the regular cases normally we observe, that is mineral oil migration issues. So this is again a very, when we use a recycled material, packing material, just consider your cardboard, okay? So when we print on this cardboard with our ink, so this cardboard is actually responsible to migrate that ink very easily. And that's why this is a mineral oil migration issue regularly observed. Another main issue is that is about the toluene-based inks in India. Normally we consider India is different from the global countries because whatever the rules, regulations we are applying in India, slightly different than the global. Why? Because toluene, which is banned long back in outside the global industry, but still toluene used in this India. Even though it is banned, some percentage, maximum, if you observe now also, if you go visit any gravure presses, some partial, they are using the toluene. Why? Because this is a very low, cheap, low grade, so low cost product, low cost solvent, but this is really very hazardous solvent. And these traces observed into this packaging material because of the retention of that solvent. And next one is about the newspaper. This is, madam is already explained. So newspaper, we all of you know which kind of ink we are using for the newspaper. Whether our newspaper purpose is for reading or for using the base for our material, food material, no. Its purpose is reading, but we are using it for packing our vada pav, packing our samosa. So this is very easily when you keep your hot material with the oily material, come in contact with your newspaper, easily that minerals get transfer into your product. So this is real incidences, and these all incidences is reflecting that ink is a major contributor when your product means making your product safe. So that means selection of inks plays a very important role when you talk about the safety of your food packing. Now, obviously the one question come in our mind. So ink we are applying on the top layer, and our product is packed. Again, a strong laminate structure we are using in that. Then still why we are getting this contamination of the ink in our food product. So there are the three different types of the migration. Normally we call this as a migration. Migration is nothing but a transfer of the raw materials, outer raw materials, transfer of through these laminate structure to the inside material. This is normally the migration concept. And this is basically happening because of the diffusion of layer. So this is the normal tendency of the raw materials pass from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, and that is actually responsible for giving this migration. So these are the normal cases, diffusion migration. Even though the barrier layers are there, if you keep your product more period of time, there is a possibility in ink layer. Now what is in ink layer specifically? We'll come to that also, ink composition part. So ink ingredients passes through your barrier layer and it comes in contact with the food. Second one is about the setup migration. Even though we are doing a printing on the outer side, but when you wind your web, if curing is not happen properly, your setup of your ink will happen, and your printed layer may come in contact with the inner layer, and that will affect the packing. And third one is about the gas phase migration. This is volatile component transferred through the airspace. So these three migrations normally we observe. And what are the parameters that is responsible for this migration? So about your selection of the raw material, because if your raw material selection, consider photoinitiators, which normally we use in your UV ink. If these are the low molecular weight photoinitiator, that easily get migrated through your substrate. Then chemical composition, polarity, volatility of your material, process factors, curing efficiency. If during printing, we know what is the speed of our machine, 100 meter per minute, flexo machines you are printing, 150, 200, 300. So at that speed, if your curing not happen properly, and that is again responsible for getting the migration. And ink formulation, that plays a very much important role for getting this migration. Environmental factors, that is nothing but a temperature. Definitely, if temperature is higher, more mobility of your ingredients will happen, and that is again responsible for migrating through this laminate structure. And next one is packaging factor, barrier layers. We think that we are using the aluminum foil, so which is the best barrier layer. But if you observe the aluminum foil also, go through the research paper, there are so many pinholes also available on your aluminum foil. So only aluminum foil is not suitable substrate. So what thickness you are using for your laminate structure, what different laminates film you are adding, so that also contributing, and that is also responsible for migrating your inks through your laminate structure. So printing ink from colors to function. In the initial stage, the function of this, finish your dialogue. Okay, fine. It's 2 minutes. Okay, so I will take fast, no issue. So we'll come to this point directly. Yeah, see, in this starting, initially the role of the printing ink was majorly about AIDA techniques, fulfilling the AIDA techniques, means marketing tools. It was working as a marketing tool. Attention, creation, desire, and action. So to use the vibrant colors so that package will get attract. Then use some very good innovative designs so that the consumers easily can get attract. But now the role of printing ink is getting changed from, along with the marketing view, it has to work as a function to create the, for making your product safer. So all these are the ingredients, we are aware about that. But while selecting each and every raw material, we have to take a lot of precaution. Just consider one pigment. If you are taking about the pigment, so there are so many raw material. Pigment means it's some metal contents available in the pigments. That metal contents we should not use because it will get easily migrate, and this is also hazardous. When we are concerned about the monomers, oligomers. So normally the tendency we have to use the high molecular weight oligomers and monomers so that it will not easily pass through your laminate structure. So like this, we have to follow so many rules and regulations while selecting these raw materials. Already this Hital madam has explained you. So what are the frameworks, what are the global regulations and compliances we have to fulfill when we are considering selecting the raw material. So we know for India there is a different, and that is again specifically mentioned about the toluene ban, but still we are using it. So and this is majorly all these compliances are giving which raw material we have to use safely, so for your food packaging. So this compliance is majorly giving for selection of the raw material, which raw material we should not use, and again if there is no option to select that raw material, in what percentage we can use that raw material. So all these guidelines basically we are getting from this compliances part, and along with GMP practices. As I was telling you, it's not only about the selection of the raw material, entire supply chain we have to consider, and entire supply chain, how they are manufacturing your product, in what conditions your product getting developed. So all these parameters we have to consider. So this is about the GMP. Now this is one slide I will explain you. Evolving role of the printing inks. So now the first purpose was about the AIT and marketing tools. See, I am taking the help of AI for creating these diagrams. But definitely to create these images, your thought is very important. So everyone is telling AI is replacing job, it's not. AI will fast your work, means it will increase your efficiency. So this diagram yesterday only I created with the help of AI. So like this one is about the first purpose was about our initial packing purpose was AIDA techniques, marketing tool. Then competition started in the market. Then the role is changing, and we are targeting to make a cost-effective product. So that cost reduction package started, and that time the industry started using the cheaper raw materials, then low-cost solvent solutions, and that's why these incidents getting reflected that time itself only. And then again the next stage came for the safety of the food product. So this is the third stage. Then industry started implementing the compliances part. But now again it is moving towards the most next stage, that is the environmental protection. So making, along with the compliances part, industry started using more eco-friendly product, and now the stage has come that it introducing more sustainable products. So along with compliances, your green products, and then how to make it sustainable product. So like this, your package is changing their way of development. So evolution in solvent-based ink. So like this, I have explained evolution, how this is solvent. There are, see, basically there are three main types of the inks we are using: solvent-based inks, UV inks, and water-based ink. So in solvent-based ink, how the evolution happened, in brief I will explain you. So initially there was a conventional solvent, which is the toluene-based solvent. Once this compliances parts taken into consideration, then it is replacing with non-toluene ketone-free inks, that is we call as the NT&K-based ink. And now the industry is again moving towards to introduce, to remove the NC-based resins also from this solvent-based ink to make it more environmental friendly and sustainable inks. So these are the few. So definitely in Fujifilm, if we consider, we have the compliant product itself only. We started our industry by introducing green products itself only. We were never into these wrong products, because we already, even if you say about the NT&K, non-NT&K based inks, so we were never into that toluene based inks. Directly we introduced our NT&K inks. So this is because of the Fujifilm policy. So all these are the different portfolio available, and this is how we are making innovations in our printing industry. This is the current trend again about the UV inks. UV inks last 2-3 years back, UV inks was there in the market. Initially it was again low migration, low molecular weight based inks. Compliance, once the compliances came into the market, low migration, so more molecular weight, high molecular weight inks also introduced. And now the trend is also coming to UV LED, that is dual QR inks, because that is giving the more energy saving, and comparatively it's giving the less migrations compared to the UV ink. So this is the current trend, which is about the UV LED compliant ink. So this is the complete spectrum. I will go directly to the next slide, last slide. Yeah, this is one important thing is about the digital ink evaluation. The similar evaluation, like how industry is moving towards Gravure to Flexo, then Flexo to from offset to Flexo. Similarly, now industry is moving towards the digital printing. And along with the digital printing, we are also evaluating the digital inks. So this is the how we are evaluated the digital inks in Fujifilm. So initially it was about the water-based inks only on the paper substrate, now about the solvent-based ink. Then it came the eco-solvent-based inks, then UV LED curing inks, textile inks, that is again the water-based inks, and now again water-based pigment inks that recently we have introduced in Drupa. Yes, almost about to finish. I will not explain you all these things. So we'll come to directly the last slide. So this is the entire complete gamut of our Fujifilm products, which is the totally sustainable green products. Why? Because we are dealing with this. Why? Because we want more smiles on our face. So this is what about the Fujifilm portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the thought-provoking address. Now I request Professor Padmaja Joshi to summarize the address and felicitate ma'am.
Good evening. As we come to the end of the speaker sessions, and we want to move on towards the panel discussion. This was the last but very important, last but not the least talk, which was based on evolving role of the printing inks in safe and sustainable food packaging. So Madam directed us from what is the basic role of the printing ink. It is not just making an image or giving the information. She explained us about the packaging elements other than substrate. So what are the other packaging elements like adhesives or maybe primer or coating and lacquer, etc. She explained the entire supply chain contributing for making pack safe and packed content also safe. So why food packaging safety matters, that also she beautifully deliberated on. how printing inks affect food safety, what are the different types of migrations, and what are the factors which are affecting the migration. That was also covered by ma'am. She finally told us about the role of printing ink, as I just said, from color to function. So talked about the function of the inks, selection of how selection of the raw material for ink is important, what are the different regulations, how the inks have moved from cost driven to safety towards sustainability. And in the end she talked about evolution of the UV inks. Though the time was short, she explained beautifully, or she touched on to all the factors, and in the end she showed us the complete spectrum of the Fujifilm. So I think that was the very interesting part of it. So thank you, Shilpa ma'am, for a wonderful session, and we look forward to hear more from you in the coming time also. Thank you.